So, hello and thank you for joining us at the 28th Argos community call. Today we have with us Elli Papadopoulou, Product Manager of Argos, who will present the Horizon Europe pilot and the new template we are building within OSTrails project. A few housekeeping notes. During the presentation, please keep your microphones muted to avoid any background noise. For the Q&A session, please feel free to unmute and turn on your camera if you wish to participate. You are also welcome to submit your questions here in the chat or in our shared Google Doc, which will be posted in the chat. Please also note that this session is being recorded and transcribed. If you wish to participate in the Q&A session but prefer not to be included in the recording, let us know here in the chat and we'll ensure your contribution is edited out. With that, I'll hand it over to Elli to start with her presentation. Elli, the floor is yours.
I'm here. Don't worry.
I know. I've seen you. I've seen you in the participants. So thank you.
Hi everyone. Okay. Thanks so much, Marily, for the introduction. Hopefully, we can have a nice discussion today. This community call is dedicated to an activity of OSTrails, of the OSTrails project that some of you, I see you are familiar because I saw you also in the webinars that we had today, yesterday, and the day before, the series of interoperability frameworks. So let's share my screen first, and then I can start. Okay. Am I sharing?
Not yet.
No.
But I see it. Okay. Oh, interesting. How about now?
Yes.
But now
you can present. You can select the present.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Elli.
Good. Right. So Horizon Europe pilot. Again, it's just a pilot. It's something that we are looking at based on the feedback that we gather from the community. It's not, let's say, something that it's going to be adopted by Horizon Europe. It's just our work towards providing some solutions to things that we have identified that do not work, for example, in the current template, and also providing some solutions based on the results that we get from the OSTrails project, which is all about streamlining planning, tracking, and assessing of the scientific information. So putting into practice all this interconnected infrastructure that, and actually I think this is also what the first slide is about, putting into practice this interconnected infrastructure of how the authoritative information that comes from SKGs can be included and enhance DMPs, and also how fair assessments can be integrated with DMPs, and how all this can play around very nicely, so that at the end, researchers have everything they need in one place. The outputs at the end will be a template. So a suggestion for a new template, let's say, an improved template of the Horizon Europe, and rich integration with the EC portal. Opener has bidirectoral collaboration with the EC portal. So the Opener graph feeds the EC portal. And we would like to see in a sample of some of the data that the graph holds, how we can, how could they fit into the portal, and therefore inform both the project investigator, the PIs, the project investigators, so those people that are coordinating projects and are using the portal to add their results there, and also the POs, the project officers, who are taking the results and trying to see how well we've done it after the project. The objectives: improve the template, as I mentioned, implement it as a modular machine actionable Argos blueprint. So we are now working to create a blueprint, and I think I forgot to add a nice visual of how this looks like, but I can show you later. So implement it as a blueprint in Argos, and also codifying and use indicators to evaluate these DMPs in terms of completeness, how complete this DMP is at the end when it's published, if it addresses fairness, so and how close it is to adopting the FAIR principles in the data and in the different outputs that it describes, and also in terms of reproducibility, some indicators, let's say, around there. So the methodology follows these three key activities. So we are going to have, we actually already have a desk research that is ongoing, where we collect templates from funders, because Horizon Europe represents the European Commission policy for research data management. So we would like to see other funders, national funders, how they, at let's say smaller scale, how they use templates, how they create them, and what they ask from the research community when they give them the funding to projects. So we're going to compare these templates, mainly as we've seen from the deliverable 3.1, and I can share it in the chat later. We saw that many of the funders are using the Science Europe. So they take the Science Europe standardized, let's say, harmonized template, and they work on this to add or remove, and in any case, adjust things according to their own policies. We are also, apart from this comparison, we are working on engaging with the community. So we have been communicated with all the other pilots of the project. So we aim to gain feedback from both national research settings, but also institutional and domain specific. And what we want to do to understand in this process of gathering the input is how the community feels about the template of Horizon Europe at the moment, what needs to change. And this is in collaboration with another project that we had another community call for that, the Tier 2 project, where we look at the template and we address any issues that we know exist through our experience with helping researchers. And then identify the workflows followed in research data management across the different organizations. Again, I mentioned that we are looking at input coming from different communities, domain specific, national or institutional. So these all have different workloads and have different requirements that they need. So we would like to understand the different workflows in managing research, let's say, because at the end, the Horizon Europe is the project template, but the project brings together different organizations. So each organizations have their own tools, their own policies, their own teams that they're working on to then bring things to the project. So this is why we're doing this, to understand how the institutions and the institutional templates, maybe even if they exist, how they fit into the funders' templates and the Horizon Europe in that case. DMP collection and assessment, at the end, what we want is to utilize the DMP evaluation service that is going to be, it's currently we have the specifications, but in next year we will have the service up and running. So we want to utilize this DMP evaluation service to check, first and foremost, how machine actionable are the DMPs that are created, and then a number of dimensions and indicators that I'm going to show in a minute. So as you've kind of understood, the work takes place at different levels. So we have the conceptual level where we work with the concept of templates and the data management platforms. So we are trying to enrich first the DMP platforms as they are at the moment from the purpose they serve at the moment, which is just to have a list of questions to ask, like this form-based, let's say, only feature functionality, to making them more active to embed research planning in them. But apart from that, the key thing is to answer the following question. Is one template enough when we're talking about Horizon Europe, for example? So this is also at the conceptual level. Technical, we are creating Argos, the Argos blueprint, which is going to enable automation and reuse of this information across the services. So we will have more to show later this year. We also work on providing the indicators that the DMP evaluator will consume for the evaluation of the DMPs. And also, in terms of policy, we would like to have some recommendations from the pilots to inform the funders of the project. Oh, this is tiny. Okay. What DMP evaluation means in the context of OSTrails. So here you can see a list of dimensions. These dimensions each, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dimensions. These are completeness, coverage, feasibility, openness, fairness, policy. And these dimensions, each one has distinct metrics, indicators to check when we're talking about a DMP, to check on specific topics. For example, completeness is one dimension that includes metrics and indicators for that answers the question, how complete is a DMP? That means that there is an indicator in Argos that searches if all required fields are filled in, right? And all the sections are filled in. That's very basic evaluation. We also look at the DMP at the end, if it's readable, if it's review ready. In terms of coverage, this is another dimension. We look at if it talks about all the different steps of the research life cycle, about the budget, about everything that is asked in a research data management life cycle, the outputs, the services, the policies, everything. Feasibility is where we look at both internal consistency, meaning we look at typos. That's very the minimum. Let's say it's to look at typos in the fields, but also we look at how feasible it is to perform the research data management based on the information that you have provided. For example, if the repository that is identified and described in the DMP, where this dataset will be deposited, is first of all exists, and if it how to say, if it satisfies the FAIR principles. So all these things, if it's technically based on the technical, based on the services that are used or are mentioned at least in the DMP, if it's technically capable to perform the data management activities. Openness looks at any data availability plans that are mentioned in the DMP, any licensing, and if it's open, any access conditions, things like that. Fairness looks at the fairness reference model, which I will add again. I don't know why it's not appearing there, but I will add the link to the fairness reference model and to the webinar that we had, which is very, it's explained very nicely. So we have some indicators coming from there regarding FAIR data. And policy checks compliance and conformance with, first and foremost, the DMP common standard, which is a standard to exchange this information, which is a profile to exchange this information in a standardized way, and also looks at different policies that have been used, have been followed. For example, if apart from the Horizon Europe, if other policies were followed. Here's an example of what this evaluation dimensions matrix looks like. You can see a dimension, completeness, for example. A metric is the content completeness and the description. So what we check is all required fields, all sections in the template are filled. In coverage, for RDM coverage, for example, we look at if collection, processing, storage, sharing, preservation is discussed. The budget and the roles are included in the, for research data management are included in the DMP. There's also outputs coverage. So there are more in this list of dimensions and metrics that we have. Based on this, we looked first, we looked at getting the feedback of the community of the OSTrails. So during the General Assembly that we held last month, we performed an exercise where we got the list of these indicators, the dimension indicators, and we had to answer or provide our opinion of whether each one of them is required for compliance, or is it just nice to have? Is it relevant? Maybe it's not relevant at all. And also if it can be automated, because at the end, we want to click the evaluate button in the DMP, in Argos, and have a nice overview of the analysis of these indicators. This is the preliminary results from this exercise. And as you can see, required for compliance is the content completeness. This scored high, the outputs coverage, the provenance, the reproducibility, the internal consistency, and the repository availability. So you can see the answers that were provided by the OSTrails consortium partners. Let me, at the end, what this will look like when we look at the bigger picture, let's say, when this pilot will be realized, is this, is we have the SKG, the open air graph, which is a scientific knowledge graph, and where we get all this information about the publications, the deliverables, the datasets, the software, and also the DMP from Argos, the MAD-DMP, any test results from FAIR assessments. And we provide it to the EC portal, also with the links. And we can get them also, of course, back that way, because of the collaboration of OpenAir. And I think that's it. Let me stop share and share another, where do I have this? But please go ahead. It's nice to have a discussion on this. What do you think, hearing that? What are your thoughts? Would you like to be involved in this feedback and input gathering process?
Hi, Elli, again, it's me. Thank you for
Hi.
your insightful presentation. Until we have some answers regarding involvement in this process, I would like to say that there are two questions in the chat. So the first one is policy evaluation. Does that mean validation against MAD-MP schema 1.1.json?
Let me see. Partly yes. It's the technical, let's say, compliance. So yeah, maybe instead of policy, I should have worded it as compliance, because actually this is how we have it. Let me show you. Let me show you the full list of dimensions. Yeah. There you go. I found it here. For example, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So here we have it as compliance, actually, and we have policy compliance, and also we have DCS compliance. So apologies for this. This isn't policy, it's compliance, actually. The dimension is compliance. And one aspect is policy. Oops, sorry. And I also wanted to, maybe Joaquin, you want to say something, because I see you post the questions.
Hi, Ellen. Well, since you referred to the RDA DMP Common Standard, and one way of evaluating against that is to use the schema, which is now being updated. There is a vivid discussion on GitHub,
Yeah,
and I suppose you're following that or part of that.
definitely, because we are actively contributing
Yes,
to this.
I thought so.
So yeah, the OSTrails is all about harmonizing, getting all the key
Mm,
players together and harmonizing things. So definitely, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But is that only part of it, validating against the schema, or do you
It's
have
part.
other means of evaluating compliance also?
Yes. So one is the technical, so about the
Yeah.
MADMP,
Mm,
and the other one is, let me go, the policy. If some key, let's say, mandatory things regarding the policy are met. What else? It's about openness,
mm.
but mainly about policy and compliance with the standard at the moment, at least.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. And let me see, because I wanted to show you also. Where am I? Maybe. Oh, I've lost it. Okay, let me do this here and then I can show you. Sarah again. Now I quickly moved it, but it shouldn't be here. I will put it where it should be in a minute. So this is what the blueprint in Argos that we're working on will look like. We'll have the Horizon Europe blueprint that includes several templates in its content. One is about the consortium policy. So one is about the resource data management practices followed and services used within the consortium. So common practices. Then is the institutional policies that might be followed by the project partners. So if I am at Athena Research Center and I'm in OSTrails, for example, right? But I'm not using something common that is used in the project. I'm using like my a service that is provided by my institution. So I'm analyzing this data, which are kept in a storage we have in the institution based on the institutional policy, and then I'm going to share it and make it available to a repository as per the consortium policy, for example, right? I need to show that also here. So I have the option to include my institutional template in the Horizon Europe blueprint so that I comply both with the Horizon, let's say, Europe requirements, but also with my institutional policy requirements. And at the end, we also give, at least this is the draft that we're working on. Things might change in terms of, change not in terms of what you see, but maybe it will be extended more with more things. We also have the machine actionable template for data sets. And this is, let me see. So this is all the data set entity and properties that the MADMP has in a template so that we describe all the data sets according to this. Because again, the DMP, maybe I can find, so let's see. I can RDA DMP common standard. I think I'm here, right? Yeah. So if we come here to the standard, we see there is a DMP entity which has all of the rest entities and properties below. But inside the DMP, there is a contributor, there's a contact, there's a cost created when the DMP was created, dataset, what datasets and where they are preserved and so on. What with license they are exposed, the title of the datasets, and so on, and then the description of the DMP. So these are for the DMP ID, the ethical issues if they exist at the level of the DMP. But for each dataset, this is where am I? This is this all is the information that is available in the standard. So we have separated the dataset specific information to a different template in Argos. And we keep the DMP information, so the cost of the whole process, the data management for the DMP, contributors in the DMP, ethical issues, language, and so project, and so on. These are the generic, let's say, information, the common information. We keep them in a different template. So yeah, that way we have a better capture coverage and capture of data sets according to DMP, to them at DMP. That's it, I think, from me. I don't know if you have any other questions.
I do
Tasso?
have, yes, I do have two questions. So the first of all is like, as far as I can understand, the institutional template is somehow a subset of the Horizon Europe template? No.
Not exactly. There's not a one-to-one mapping, but yes, some information, some common information is required by both Horizon Europe and institutional templates.
Okay, so that will be the core information that you need, to be aligned with you. Okay, okay.
Yes, but the trick is that although they might ask about the same information, they might word it differently and need other types of input. For example, and again, the standard has a specific structure and has specific format that the input is expected to have. Is it going to be a URL? Is it going to be an open-ended string, nested structure like a table? So these kinds of things might be different from how the funders want them to ask them. Not sure I gave you the perfect answer, but what I mean is, for example, let me share my screen. So here, oops. So here, for example, let's go to contributor. If I am a data steward, right? In the MADMP, in the DMP common standard, I have to have a nested structure that includes all these four properties. And each one should also be, the input that we get should be according to this data type that we see here. So if, for example, the mailbox that is required by the institutional template is not in this form, in mail address, but is, for example, I don't know, maybe some people have this at, the brackets and at, then this is then it's not compliant to the DMP common standard. So,
Okay.
oh, I wasn't sharing my screen.
Yeah, but let's
But
say,
I was
yeah,
no,
it was very
sorry.
clear. Yeah, it was very clear. Okay, and the second question I have is like how.
This is what I was.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm, okay. And the second question I have that I see that there are a lot of information, regarding this step, this phase of planning the research. How all this information is going to be exposed, within from the SKGs? Because and I'm asking this because I see that there was a discussion about the extension that we're going to create, for the SKGs and to address specific community requirements. And I was thinking, which is the connection between these two things?
So how we use the information? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see. So in Argos, we call the OpenAir Graph API to give us back the information that we might want. For example, to give us information about datasets or about the funder and the grant IDs. And this information comes from authoritative sources, like from the funding information, for example, comes from the European Commission, but also others, and they duplicate it, and there's a whole
Yes.
process for enrichment and validation. So we get this information, and then we can expose our DMP to a repository, for example, that is then harvested by an aggregator. And aggregators are very common to be exposed also as scientific knowledge graphs. So that's the connection.
No, sorry. I should be more precise. The question was not about how you're going to do that, but I mean, I see that as information that I'm not quite sure that, is already provided or included or is to be exposed within, the SKGs. So this is the question. Are the SKGs going to include also this type of information that you would like to capture
Oh
here?
yes, yes. So
That was the question, yeah.
the SKGs will have the MAD-DMP.
Yeah,
So information, for example, in OpenAir Graph, we don't have information about cost of data management
yeah, for
plans,
example.
right?
Yes.
Well, we have it, but it's hidden. So with the publication of the MAD-DMP, it's going to be available.
Okay, yeah, that was the question.
So
So,
yes, we will enrich also the graphs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not, we don't have any other questions.
Let's wrap up then and see you next month.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice long weekend.